Stuff that tastes awful.
Oh, it doesn't even mix. It's not just that it's not cold. Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah, it doesn't mix. Or it doesn't mix well.
I got you.
So
Yeah.
anyway, well, listen, hey, cheers.
I'm
Thanks
used
for having me on.
I'm used to not mixing well.
Yeah, you know what? I represent that remark.
Yeah, right. That's part of it.
That's how it goes.
So I got to ask you, at what point did you like think that you're going to be a bar owner? Like, how did that even come to be? I mean, you weren't dreaming about this as a kid. I mean,
No,
you
well,
don't go to career day. We don't have a career day.
They don't.
Have you been to a school telling people to open a bar, telling kids to open a bar?
You know what? But they should.
They should, right? Yeah.
No, right? It's kind of funny how it all started. So growing up, by the time I was 21, I started just bartending, working in bars. Did that for 15 or so years. And like everybody, it seems like everybody who works in a bar thinks, oh, it'd be cool to own a bar.
Yeah.
But I kind of turned into like the dog that catches the car,
Yeah.
So really, it all came about almost just out of serendipity. So a good friend of mine, Chad Needham, who owns Gray Line Station, the building here, he was opening this right kind of at the time of COVID. My job went away because of COVID because a lot did.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and he said, "It's like it's probably going to need a bar down there." And I was like, it probably is. And that's really the genesis. It was no more complex or.
Now, what had you been doing prior to?
I worked in pharmaceutical marketing for like 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So complete different change of pace.
Say, yeah. But the early bartending was what you said. What made you kind of think I could do this? I mean,
it just kind of felt right. The book, it's called like the 5 Languages of Love.
Yeah, 5
languages, whatever it is. Yeah. So like my primary and secondary and tertiary language of love is like acts of service and doing things like, making somebody a meal or things like that. So this just kind of felt like, and I enjoy providing service, enjoy providing hospitality.
Right.
It's really cool to, we've been here 5.5, I guess, or so years now, just having, built regulars and people that we see a lot. I mean, they're people that I spend time with here at Old North, but also that I spend time with outside of Old North. So it's been really cool. Just helping build, I guess, a sense of community in that way. Yeah. So,
what's it like when it's tough? I mean, because you got slow times, you get there's the cycle in the business. I mean, it's not always fun and games. What's that like?
It's not. No, it takes a little bit of fortitude. And like I said, we've been here a little while now, and you have a good sense of what our cycle is like through the course of the year, when it's going to be busier, when it's going to be slower. So having at least a perspective and knowing, kind of when to expect it, that does help, kind of, make hay while the sun shines kind of deal.
Right.
But, you can't look at it on hey, we had a bad day or a bad week. You have to look at it a bit more holistically. Like, what's the quarter like? What's the year like? What's the 3-year trend like?
The longitude of that.
Yeah, and kind of take a long view of it. That doesn't make like the slow days or slow weeks easier.
Yeah.
But that's just part of it. I mean, I'd love it if we had 1,000 people in here every day, but that's just not the reality of our business.
Right. But you do have 1,000 people in here from time to time.
Occasionally we do. Yeah, that's right. Those are great days.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun time to go to the bank.
Yeah. So 25 years of the same direction. I mean, you had to think that was going to be where you ended up. You had to think that's your retirement. You're moving. I mean, you've been at it since a long time.
I guess maybe I did think that, and I didn't. Like I said, I didn't really plan on opening a bar.
Right.
But in retrospect, and I don't know if I thought this at the time, but in retrospect, when I was in my kind of previous life professionally, it did become a little bit repetitive. We get new clients, and it can be a different therapeutic area or disease state, drug, that kind of thing. But we did the same process every time, so it kind of just became like rinse and repeat.
Right.
And not that it wasn't rewarding work, because it was. I mean, I met a lot of really great people. I did a lot of work in HIV care.
Oh, wow.
Which that's kind of helped me build a lot of relationships with Pride and with Aval here in Central Kentucky. So it's kind of funny how those things have kind of come back a little bit.
Right.
But like I said, it wasn't anything that this isn't come about intentionally. But it's been a nice change of pace from what I was doing. It's not certainly not sitting behind a computer screen all day.
So I guess the question I have is because I like to debunk things like manifestation.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I don't believe that if you think about something enough, it's going to happen. Right.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I think you can think about it, but you've got to have an action plan. You've got to have some sort of way of accomplishing what it is that you're going to do. And so I'm just curious, because I'm brand new. I mean, you had no blueprint of how to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, so how did you? Because you've manifested this. I mean, this is your thing. So tell me about that process, man. That's going to be interesting.
Well, this like terrible advice for anybody who
No,
wants
that's
to do
great.
this.
That's
but, like,
great, though. I love it.
You know, when we, like I said, it really was as simple as it's going to need a bar.
Right.
And we actually started planning this. You know, it took us about 8 months or so, 9 months to kind of retrofit, build out, and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Because this was an old bus station.
yeah, this building's like 110 or 15 years old, I think,
Yeah,
and
so
it's had a lot of
buses.
yeah, it's had a lot of things. It's been a lot of things in its lifetime. But previous to being what it is now, it was owned by Lexington, and it was their bus garage where they did repairs on buses. And you know, then Chad bought it from the city however many years ago and spent some time, you know, renovating it, fixing it up, and now it is what it is. But in terms of the plan, you know, when we opened during COVID, people couldn't come inside restaurants and bars at all. There was a 0% capacity
in the heat of it all.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you know, we got to the point where we were able to open, and we had to start paying rent. I mean, it wasn't like we got a break, like a COVID relief. You know, no rent till COVID's over. That wasn't happening. And so I was like, well, we might as well try to sell a couple beers rather than no beers. So, you know, luckily, you know, we have this little window here that opens up into the kind of the main area of Gray Line.
Right.
And for the first probably, I don't know, 4 or 6 months that we were open, everything we served, everything we sold was out of that window there.
And everybody wearing masks.
Everybody wearing masks and all that stuff. And then, you know, luckily here at Gray Line, they have a sip and stroll license called an Entertainment Destination Center license, which means that anybody who's a licensed alcohol reseller, like Old North or Darling Wine Bar or whomever, folks can get a drink and they can walk around with it.
Right.
And it was the holidays, and there were, you know, it's a bit more retail here at Gray Line, you know, 5 or 6 years ago than there is now.
Right,
so people would at least come out. It was new, so at least they came out and supported a little bit. But yeah, for the first probably 6 or 8 months that we were open, I was the only, you know, we didn't have bartenders. We just had me. And we were open way too many hours. Like we were open from 11 to 11, 7 days a week.
And you were doing all that.
Yeah, so I was behind the bar 77 hours a week.
Oh, good.
Plus, you know, all the time it was just, you know, and sometimes you can do things while you're behind the bar. And it wasn't always like super busy at 2 on a Tuesday. So you could do, you know, we didn't really have payroll because I wasn't getting paid.
Right.
So it was just like ordering and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't anything too complex. But then we got to a point, I don't know, sometime in the spring, my wife was like, okay, that's enough, cowboy. He's like, all right, you gotta hire somebody.
That's right.
And we got to a point where we could afford to do that.
Yeah, but early on, you're pulling this thing out of the ground.
Yeah, you're just kind of bootstrapping.
No resources.
Right? Yeah, that was the resource.
Yeah,
I was the human resource.
Yeah, of course.
So we were kind of bootstrapping there for a while, but you know, that's been, like I said, 5 or 6 years ago now, and you know, luckily I don't have to get behind the bar too much. I mean, I still do when folks.
Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy when you get behind the bar?
I do. Yeah. It's fun to kind of be on that side of it sometimes still. But you know, something I really enjoy outside of just like providing hospitality to all of our guests, I enjoy providing a job to people. Yeah. You know, of our bar staff, 2 of them, this is the only thing they do. Like this is their full-time occupation. Yeah. And they make enough here to, you know, unfortunately they're probably not making millions of dollars a year, which they were. So I'd be doing a lot better too. But like they make enough to where, you know, we have single moms that work for us, and it's something that means a lot to me that we can provide them a place to, you know, place to work.
And then certainly I remember this from my days in the restaurant world, the flexibility that's there, right? Because I wanted to pick up a shift, work 1 night a week. I could do that, keep a job, and then do all the other things in music and whatever I was doing at the time, as in radio and all media, and you name it. Yep. But it was so incredibly flexible. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and you know, and we have an amazing bar crew. Like the people who work here, I think we've had like 2 people quit, and one was because she moved to Chicago to go to nursing school, and the other guy quit to open a landscaping business. So it's not like they quit to go bartend somewhere else, or because they hated you. Yeah, because they hated me. Well, that's what they told me anyway. I don't know. I haven't seen Kate, so I guess you moved to Chicago.
That's pretty bad if you've driven them completely.
Yeah, that's right. It's a little bit of time zone. But you know, we're lucky with the crew. We've had such incredible consistency with our bar staff, and that goes a long way.
And that's unheard of.
Well, I don't know about that. It's, you know, something I'm really proud of. You know, and we hire people really based on their values, not their skill set. You can teach anybody to make a margarita or a martini, but you can't teach someone to be like a good and decent and honest and trustworthy and personable.
How do you judge that? What are your ways of judging that? Because I think that's really difficult. Right?
It is, and I wish I could say like I had this, you know, written metric or a rubric that said like here are the things that you know I don't.
Right.
You know, Robin, our first bartender, I'd known her for 15 or 16 years as a customer when
Okay.
she was somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
Grace, who's another of our full-time employees, she used to work at a plant store here in Lexington. She'd never been behind the bar a day in her life.
Wow.
And then her shop was next to my wife's shop, Popping Pomelo, when they were still there at Gray Line. She asked my wife, Cammie, one day if I was hiring, and we kind of were. I asked Cammie, you know, does Grace have any bartending experience? And she said no. It's like, okay, good start. But then I said, you know, would you hire her? She's a good person.
In fairness, you didn't have any bar owning experience.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. So peas in a pod, I guess.
Right.
But I just trusted my wife. I said, would you hire her? She said, yeah. And so, you know, interviewing for a bar job is like interviewing for any job. You know, you can go and I can ask all the questions, and the person can say whatever it is, and they can go behind the bar and they can make a bourbon and Coke or whatever it is. But really, until you see someone in action, and you know, you see it's a busy night and there's like a stress point, and you know, what's that like, and then do you trust them to be here when I'm not here? And it's really, I mean, it's not trial and error, but like, you know, I tell everybody when we hire them, like, hey, you know, we're going to try this for a couple of weeks. We'll see if we like you, and we'll see if you like us, because it has to be a good fit. Because if someone comes to work here and they're miserable, that's going to be a terrible customer experience. That's going to show as soon as somebody you know orders something. So you know, we try pretty hard just to, I don't know, hire people that I think are going to represent the values that I have and that Old North stands for. So I don't know. I wish it was more scientific. It's really not.
Well, you said something that I think is definitely insightful, and that is you brought your wife, at least in this particular situation, because she was a Robin. You said that you know.
Grace.
Grace. Okay, Grace. But you know, I think there's intuition there. You know, definitely, especially when you're in that couple dynamic. And I've heard this years ago. I did the whole Dave Ramsey entree leadership.
Oh right, yeah.
And that was one of his big things, is that before he hires anyone, it's a process. It's a big process, and then he meets, if they have a significant other, the potential hire and significant other, sit down to dinner with him and his wife. That's the final thing.
That's it.
And then they go home and talk, and they're like, you know. And if it doesn't, like, they can have all the credentials, they can look great on paper.
Sure.
If she smells something a little funky, it doesn't happen. Isn't that wild?
I mean, it makes sense though. I mean, hiring people is one of the, and I've done it for a lot of years in my career, you know, whether here or previously. And it's hard. Like, it's a skill. Because like I said, you know, you can interview really well and then not, you know, it just doesn't always work out.
I've been in the unfortunate situation of having to hire and fire. And,
it's not fun.
Oh, good Lord, it's terrible. I mean, you think you know somebody, you think you got them. It's kind of like you say. I mean, until you hit that stress point, and in the industries I've been in before, it's not like you see it every night.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
Because you're going to have a peak point where somebody's going to crack or not. It's not until 6 months later or 2 years later. It's like, what?
Yeah, you never know what's going to come.
Oh, good Lord.
But we've, you know, knock on wood, we've been lucky that the people that we've hired have worked out. So I'm fortunate in that regard.
Yeah. What's the toughest? What's the toughest thing in this? What's really hard for you?
I guess, I mean, the toughest, like anything else, business really, is just getting people to come here and engage with us. You know, when people come here, we generally, people have a good time and they speak very highly of us, whether it's just, you know, coming for cocktails or, you know, a rehearsal dinner or a wedding reception or a, you know, birthday, whatever that is. But there's just a lot of competition in this town for, you know, I mean, beers are beers are beers. You know, Bud Light tastes the same here as it does anywhere around town.
But atmosphere and you have food in here.
Atmosphere and experience goes a long way, you know. But you know, that's why we do, you know, we do trivia and we do live music and we do things to, you know, try to get people to engage with us. And we have, like, you know, it's funny, on Wednesday, our trivia night, we have like 5 or 6 teams that show up every week. So we know that's going to happen. And then, you know, we rotate through live music, and that's, you know, we try to get musicians in here that, you know, well, you know, that have a little bit of their own following, and they'll come and, you know, patronize the bar and have a good time.
That's why I don't play as frequently as I would like.
I know you're busy. No, we can talk about that. But I think we're trying to create an atmosphere. You know, we you know, spent some effort to renovate, and you know, we added these cool booths and soft seating area and things like that. So
that you mentioned earlier, which I think is great, you're reaching out to the community, right? I mean, for one, the LGBTQ community. What is you do a special happy hour here? Is that right?
We do. Well, once a month we do. It's called.
Is it the queer happy hour?
They call it the Gathering.
The Gathering.
So it's an LGBTQ happy hour. We did last year. We did last Wednesdays which is with Aval,
Okay.
and they do that once a month, and they kind of rotate around town.
Yeah.
It's just a big Aval themed
Right,
happy
sure.
hour. But it's I think being a community is something that I mentioned earlier. Like I believe in it a lot. Like whether
Right.
that's the Gray Line community or whether that's the LGBTQ community, the Lexington bar community, the hospitality community, the
Right.
live music community, whatever those things are.
Mhm.
I try to be as involved in each of those as you can, because it's not anybody who tells you like opening a bar or restaurant, turning on the open sign and expecting customers to meet down the door.
Yeah.
I mean that happens, but it seems to be the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Right.
And it takes effort, like intentional effort, to get folks to engage with you.
Yeah.
Because there are, I don't know how many 1,000 restaurants and bars in this town, or some ridiculous number. So that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's not like it's intellectually difficult. Like, it's
Right.
not heart surgery or curing cancer or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just we're open 7 days a week, which is my choice.
Yeah.
But it's like it's just relentless.
Right.
Like it's there every day.
Oh yeah.
And you can tell if I'm not working hard now, that may not show tomorrow, but it'll show up in 2 months or 3 months, and I'll know then that I didn't do my job today to make myself busy in the future.
So I guess eventually, are you hoping to get to a point where you can be like not here hands-on all the time?
I'd love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because it also seems like you enjoy it, though. I mean, I see you in here. It seems like you're having a good time.
I do enjoy being here, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here, 60 hours a week for the next, however long I live,
So is the goal then to find someone that could eventually replace you?
Yep.
Yeah. So are you in the pursuit of that now, or
not at the moment? We're just not. Honestly, we haven't grown enough yet
there yet.
to be able to afford that.
I got you.
It just doesn't make financial sense for the business right yet.
Right.
But that's ultimately what I'd love to have that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the hardest part, which is getting people in here.
Yeah.
Because if you got more people in here, then you can get to the point where it's like, okay, now everything is working.
Yeah. When I was in pharmaceuticals, my job was business development. And I worked for just like small family-owned companies, had 25, 30, 35 employees. But a company that I worked for, I just reported directly to the owner. And so he and I were like the two salesmen basically for the company. And he basically said, and I learned, it's a great lesson. He's like, sales, business development is the lifeblood of this company.
Yeah.
Without that, all these jobs go away.
Yeah.
And that, and I feel that way here. So and it's it's different because I'm not going out and selling a service.
Yeah.
And people have to, like, we can't sell Bud Light on the internet. All right. We don't sell it online. So people have to come here to experience us.
Yeah.
So just, and the economy right now is not helping anything.
Yeah.
Gas is through the, just everything,
sure.
So that's not helping the hospitality business at all.
Well, we're in a cycle now that we haven't seen in probably, how long has it been? 20 years almost.
Oh, I would say, last time, 2008.
Right. I mean, we're close to it, 18, 20 years, right? So, I mean, you got business owners like yourself who didn't experience it the last time.
Not as a business owner, but yes, as a consumer.
But
correct.
In this particular situation where, this is kind of, okay, now how do we weather this one, right? So,
I guess what's good about, our business, the bar business specifically, people don't really quit drinking. Like vices, they're not really keen on giving up their vices. Times get tough, like, all right, well, I'm not going to go out and have $100 steak dinner tonight, but I still need a couple of cold beers on the weekend.
Exactly right.
So, we see a little bit of that, but it's certainly not helping.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So, from here, retirement eventually.
I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been tired once. I feel like I'm tired again. So, no.
Because I'm at a point where I'm like, I want to do this until I just don't do anything else. Until I just can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because I enjoy these kind of conversations, and I believe that there's value in sharing stories and connecting. And I'm learning a lot from you here. It's great, and I don't ever want to stop that.
Yeah.
And I don't ever see a point where I'm like, I'm going to go to the beach and hang out, and everything is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But you seem like the kind of guy that, because of your heart to serve, you're always going to find something that's going to make that work. Right?
It's funny. I have boundless energy.
Yeah.
I sleep, 4 or 5 hours a day, and I don't know why. I don't.
It's always been that way.
It's always been that way.
Yeah.
And I don't sit still very well. Whether that's just like sitting behind my laptop for 4 hours a day, or just generally like in life, I don't sit. I'm a pretty kinetic and pretty just active person.
Yeah.
So it would be difficult for me to think about retiring. It'd be nice to, like work less
Yeah,
sometimes.
sure.
You know, have a like a 30-hour week as opposed to
Yeah.
I feel like a vacation.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I don't say these things to like try to pat myself on the back. I mean, I like all these things I choose.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
I'm well aware that they're all my choice.
Right.
No one's forcing me to do this.
That's right.
So I would want to be cognizant of that as well.
And there's got to be something, I'm assuming, beautiful in that experience of nobody forcing you to do anything. You are kind of doing this. You're calling the shots, right? I mean, am I right?
Yeah, you are right. I mean, there's some autonomy in that,
Yeah.
but also like there's a lot of accountability in it too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. So for the last, I would say 12 or 15 years before I did this, I was working from home. And that takes a lot of accountability.
Oh,
Just
Lord,
to get up and, it was an office job. So I would, but I treated it like going to an office. I'd get up and, take a shower and get coffee. And then I had an office. I would go sit in there and I'd, take my, take lunch and whatever. But it was just like an office job. But
you weren't just wearing your pajamas. You
were no, man, the days that you were not productive, or at least I wasn't.
Yeah.
So a lot of the accountability that I learned, in that, because at that point I was working for someone else and I was accountable to them ultimately, but it wasn't like they were calling every 15 minutes and saying, "Hey, what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now?" It was more like, "All right, here's the things we have to get accomplished on this project in the next 3 months," and or whatever the time kind of frame was
for a long time.
So you had to have a short-term and long-term view, not dissimilar from what what I do here. So just learning a little bit of accountability about myself has been kind of foundationally important to help us have the success that we've had so far.
You can't blame anybody else
You
for
really
whatever
can't.
that's going on,
No.
right? When you're the guy. Wow.
Was it FDR that said that? Buck stops here?
Yeah.
Was that who it was?
I don't know, maybe.
One of the presidents.
Yeah.
I'm not quite that important.
Yeah.
It's way less bucks.
Well, and I think that, there's a romanticism in being your own boss. There's a romanticism in, running a business, doing this stuff, and I'm always looking for inspiration, just daily inspiration. I love people who are doing cool things, and I like to get those kind of stories. So I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I watch these crazy. It makes me insane when I see another 20-year-old person telling someone how to live their life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing against them. God bless them. They're doing something. They're out there doing it.
Right.
But when you're at the age of having earned the opportunity to share some things, it's a very different dynamic to me.
Well, when you have more runway behind, it kind of gives you a bit more perspective on things. You just have more life experiences. That doesn't make somebody wrong or right.
But I think it's a sobering understanding of how this thing works. I mean, you said it a second ago. There are bars that open up, they pack out immediately, and for some crazy reason, they just have this ridiculous attraction. And it's not like they've got anything that anybody else doesn't have. It's just the timing, everything, whatever, and we've all seen that. But we've seen this in careers, right? We've seen this in people who step out. We've seen this in musicians who seem to just have it all. The wind is in their sails and everything is going. Those are the exceptions. Every one of those. Because the rest of us have got to figure it out.
Yeah, that's right.
The hard way. And I would much rather listen to somebody who's been through a few cycles of challenges.
I've been through a few cycles. Yeah, I keep cycling through that. I think anything your reality is informed by your experiences.
Sure.
And like I desperately want this place to succeed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's there's certainly ego in that. But I want it to succeed for not just for me, but I want it to be a staple in the community. I want to be a place that people can come and work, and people can come and have a cool beer, make whatever those things are.
And it'd be like, 90 years from now, it's like Chevy Chase Inn. It's
like,
North Bar.
Exactly.
It's been there forever.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
We even had air conditioning since we opened. We'd have to go through the hard times without having that. Didn't say on their sign.
Can you imagine that? No, right. At least it's a lot easier these days.
It sure is. Yeah.
You're not chipping ice from the wagon.
That's right. Yeah. Wow. I think that's what that building right there used to be like, the big ice house.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad then.
No, not too bad. You can walk across the street and get a big old block.
Go too far.
You need it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I would say, based on what I see, is you are succeeding, right? Because it goes back to what you were talking about earlier. This love language, this understanding of service is something that you get more out of it ultimately at the end of the day than anything that
probably.
Yeah. Right.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think that business people, especially, in my opinion, have the most unique opportunity to be contributive to their community.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But I also know that there are business people who don't see themselves as contributors. They see themselves as capitalists.
Well, yeah,
You know?
sure. And I guess, I mean, I don't know that they're mutually exclusive.
Well, I mean, I would say, capitalism from the standpoint of just being what's the next move? What's going to make me the most money?
Oh, just in it for the money.
Right.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Right. Yes, you
Yeah.
can be a good
Sure.
capitalist and do things the right way
Right.
and be a part of the community.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying there's a mindset that says, in some cases, there are those people, and I know them personally, who are just hustling constantly because all they want to do is make them the
Sure.
next whatever.
Yeah.
They're not satisfied with their 7 figures in their bank account.
Right.
You
Sure.
know those guys.
I do.
And,
Yeah.
and it's this relentless focus. And generally, they're miserable.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I'd say there's probably a broad swath of those folks who are.
A good amount of them are miserable. And then there are those who have kind of stepped out of that rat race and that whole thing. And like you're on a level like, I have an opportunity to make an impact here.
Sure.
Right? I have an opportunity to connect, whether it's hiring people, like you say, providing opportunities there, connecting to these communities, connecting to maybe communities that are a little bit less accepted socially in other places.
Sure.
Right? I mean, there's a very beautiful, specific contribution that you are making that's unique.
Well,
yeah, and that's what I love about what you're doing.
Well, that's kind of you say, but really, if you think about it, like we are in the hospitality business.
Right, sure.
I mean, it's literally in like the name of what we do to provide hospitality. So, and you know, I just it's anathema to me that any you would turn your back on a community, whether they're marginalized or socially accepted or not, whatever that would be. It's just something that doesn't seem right to me.
I don't see the sign around here that says we refuse or we reserve the right to refuse service.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, we do. No.
But that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a fan of you from the beginning since we met and what you're doing.
Thanks,
here.
man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy your friendship.
Yeah, of course. And I love this whole facility. I spent a night here. Or I spent a week here. I told you that.
Yeah,
Right back
yeah.
on the bus. When,
Yep.
In another life when I was doing radio and
Yep.
we were doing a promotion. I lived on a bus for a week and literally stayed in this this compound.
That's funny.
But
yeah.
So it's got a special place to me for a lot of reasons. But yeah, it's gorgeous here and it's just so charming. I don't know why you're not packed every night. I don't know why you can't. You got a wait around the corner. I mean, it's just a cool environment. It's an awesome place.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities still ahead for Gray Line.
Yeah. The food is something you're still you've been working with that,
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean, we have Dova's Kitchen, and they're
which
our
is awesome.
kitchen, and they do a really good job.
They're
They've just been here, I don't know, 2 months now.
Yeah.
But the people who own it, they're the owner operators, and that goes a long way in small business.
Sure.
When you're an absentee owner
Mm.
and you check in, once a week, that can
Right.
make it a bit more challenging.
Right.
For every reason you can imagine.
Yeah.
But Daquan and Kayla, they're awesome. The food's really good. They're good people.
Mm.
They're great partners. They want to work with us, and they seem to understand like their success and our success are somewhat inextricably linked.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like everybody that comes here gets something to eat, or everybody that comes gets something to eat gets something to drink. But when we work together, we can go farther.
So do you look for those values that like are those guys
Yeah.
have the same heart of
Like
service?
it was like an interview process. They
Yeah.
wanted to move in here, and I was like, well, your menu looks great. We added a few things that were really great. Like, hey, they had like lamb chops and lamb burgers. I'm like, well, could we do like just sort of regular like cheeseburger? And they're like, yeah, of course we'll add things because we have at least we need a little bit wider variety of things.
But
And
lamb chops are great.
The lamb chops are great, but not it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I've not had a bad meal there, and I've had just about everything.
Yeah.
But no, we sat down and we just talked. I mean, not even about the menu, but just like when you say you're open, when you put a sign up that says "Here's when we're open," that's when you're expected to be
That's
open.
right. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, slow, we're going to close early. That's not
right.
You're as a retail business, whether it's a bar or a clothing store or whatever. One of your first promises to your customers is your hours.
Yeah.
And if you can't keep that promise, then what level of trust are they going to have in you to do anything else you say you do?
Yeah. I love getting turned away 15 minutes before they close.
Yeah.
When theoretically you should be able to walk in all the way up to closing time and
Yeah.
still be served, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you hate it in the industry.
Yeah.
You hate it. But how many times have you had this experience? Walk in,
Oh,
quarter till closing time. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Kitchen's closed. We're not serving anybody. It's like,
and I just
Well,
don't
then
go
why
back.
don't you change your time to 11:45?
Yeah, yeah, and our bar crew, like they know, like there are not many things that would probably get somebody fired from work. I mean, there
Right.
are, but like if you close early,
Yeah.
that's one of them.
Yeah.
If somebody comes in at 10 minutes before close, I'm happy if our bar crew says, hey, we're doing last call, happy to get you a
Yeah.
couple of rounds, but we
Yeah.
close at XYZ.
Yeah.
And you set the expectation with the customer politely,
Right.
and they're 9 times out of 10 or 99 out of 100, they're like, okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if somebody comes up and it's 5 minutes till we close, and you've already put the stuff away, get it back out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're open till when we're open.
That's right.
That's a pet peeve of mine, like personally. So, yeah. But yeah, but anyway, going back to Nova's, like we just sat down and talked about the values of their business and the values of my business, and things that are important to me, and how we provide service and how we treat our customers. So they aligned with many things that we value a lot here. So it's been a good fit and a good partnership so far, and I'm tickled to have them. I hope they never leave.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wes, man, it's great talking to you.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
Likewise.
Yeah.
It's been fun. This is really cool to do this.
Yeah.
I've actually never done something like this before.
Hey, you haven't?
Not in such a candid way.
Yeah.
Not like long form content like this.
Right.
It's always been more, what's your 30-second, your 60-second kind of thing.
Well, and I've done a few of those with you.
Sure, exactly. So
Yeah,
this is just kind of fun to be, kind of expository in nature, and just, talk fairly candidly about what I do here. And it's something obviously I'm passionate about it because I continue to do it. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that.
No.
I mean, I'll talk about this for 30 hours, but
It's great.
your battery might die.
If it hasn't already. The way I see things, and just to wrap it up, I believe that contribution is the key to peace, right? Because when you're purposeful with your whatever you're doing, you know that you are helping other people. You know that it's not just all about me.
Sure.
It's great if you can benefit from that financially.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Benefit financially from that as much as you want. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's all about that attitude of, do you see yourself identified yourself personally as a person of contribution?
Yeah.
And will that then ultimately provide that purposeful existence that leads to peace? I believe it. I believe in that.
Well,
totally agree.
what they say, you can do well by doing good.
Yeah.
I believe in that. And something else that I really try hard to do, and this is kind of subjective, but I try to give more than we take here. And I don't mean that only in a financial way. Obviously, we're in this to make money, and this is this is my livelihood.
It's hard to give more than you take financially, though.
But sometimes it is that way.
Sometimes it works out that way with payroll.
Yeah, that's right. But like, when we work with nonprofits, and I'm happy to be a community partner. It's like, hey, we'll be glad to do a give back to your, come and do a happy hour here, and we'll do that. But being a good member of your community is more than just, like, actions matter more than words.
Sure,
now, because a lot of people can say, oh yeah, we support XYZ cause.
Yeah.
Well, in today's day and age, and unfortunately, like, you can, promote them on social media, you can have events, but sometimes it comes down to write a check. And that's something that means a lot to me, that we're able to give back. And it's not as much as I'd like to. I'd love to be able to give more.
Yeah.
But just the act of giving is just like you said, it's, I don't know, it's fulfilling, I guess. Rewarding, all those things. So,
and I think that there's a perpetuating nature to that, because people are not going to say, "Oh, that Wes, what an asshole."
Yeah, well, they probably do. But those are just my friends. So
those are the people who really know.
Just the people that really know me. That's right.
Wes, cheers, my friend.
Hey, well,
thank you so much.
I appreciate your time today, bud. Thank you. It's been great.
It's been awesome.